This in my hand is the brand new flagship device from the guys at BlackBerry. Yes, an Android powered smartphone with a physical keyboard. And in this video, I'm going to give you my hands-on review with this device. But first, let's show you what's inside the box. So it's a pretty standard unboxing in terms of items that we get included with the KEY2. We get a power brick charger. We also get a really nice pair of in-ear BlackBerry branded 3.5mm headphone jack headphones. So if you are a big fan of 3.5mm headphone jacks in 2018, the KEY2 will not disappoint. You also get a USB-C sync charge cable and then the device itself. You will notice that this looks incredibly similar to the previous generation KEY2, but once you inspect it closely, you'll see that there are some differences. Basically, BlackBerry have just sort of refined the design of the KEY2 to make it better and noticeably better than the KEY2. I like the fact that the screen, the bezels have now been moved slightly, so you're still getting an IPS LCD screen. It clocks in at 1620 by 1080 pixel resolution. It's got a pixel density of around about 434 pixels per inch, but you still have that kind of awkward aspect ratio of 3:2. I'll talk about that in a moment in one of the drawbacks, but you are going to get a physical keypad area, keyboard, whatever you want to call it. And if you are a fan of that, then the KEY2 will not disappoint. And this is one of the major differences of the KEY2 over the KEY2. The keyboard has been refined, very so slightly, but very noticeable. So the keys are slightly larger, there is better spacing, and there is better sort of tactile feedback when you are pressing the keys. And I found that actually typing on this is actually very pleasant. The things that you'll notice is the spacebar actually has a inbuilt fingerprint sensor, which is very good, and the overall keypad can be used to scroll up and down, which I think is a great feature when it comes to hardware and OS working really well together. Now, some of you will want to know, is it faster to type on a physical keypad than an on-screen one? And in my experiences, no, it isn't. But at the end of the day, this is going to appeal to people who want a physical keypad, who have perhaps some nostalgic sort of memories of BlackBerry. But it also helps to set the KEY2 out from all the other Android smartphones of 2018, which, let's face it, are all beginning to look exactly like each other. So in some ways, I guess this is something that will set the KEY2 apart. So let's talk about performance. Well, the KEY2 is powered by Qualcomm's Snapdragon 660 processor. They've thrown in 6GB of RAM with 128GB of storage. And for the most part, with the time that I use the KEY2, it performs relatively well. It does struggle, and you will notice a dip in performance with multitasking, but it comes with Android 8.1 straight out of the box. And BlackBerry, when it comes to the OS, have just enhanced Android a little. So you get areas in the operating system, for example, this area here with transactional tiles, you can customize. It just adds to the productivity. There's also another feature which is really key, and that is when it comes to security. So things like BlackBerry Privacy Shade and also the security functions throughout the operating system will mean that, particularly on a platform like Android, apps will need more of your permission to do things behind the scenes or in the background, and that is actually something that is very, very useful on this device. Now, there's another feature which is actually a really cool feature, and that's related to the camera. We'll talk about the camera in detail in a moment, but that is taking photos. If you use the keypad, the spacebar, you will actually be able to take photos that are then hidden in a particular folder that only you have access to. This was available on the previous generation KEY2, but it's nice to see something like this also included in the KEY2. Now, talking of cameras, there is a difference between the KEY2 and the KEY2 in that the KEY2 now has a dual camera setup on the back. You have two 12-megapixel cameras, one with an f1.8 aperture and the other with an f2.6 aperture. There's also 2x optical zoom as well as a portrait mode. Now, the portrait mode works relatively well. The optical zoom, however, I was a little disappointed with. Just going back, the camera on the KEY2 for the most part is actually really good, but there are some areas in which I was disappointed. Number one, in low light, and what I found was that there was a lag between hitting the shutter button and actually getting the shot taken, and also with the optical zoom. In my experience, the images taken with that optical zoom appeared to be grainy, and that was a real disappointment. There are, however, a bunch of different functions that you have access to with the KEY2 in terms of the camera, things like slow-mo and panoramic, and for the most part the video is nice. If you compare it with the KEY1, then there is definitely a marked improvement for the camera, both the front and the back camera. But when you compare it with other flagship Android smartphones out there, then I think the KEY2 does fall short, and it would be nice to see BlackBerry perhaps focusing more on the camera functions in future iterations. So what are my final thoughts having used this for over a week and a half? I'm going to talk to you about some of the negatives, but when it comes to the positives, the KEY2 has some things going for it. Number one, it looks like a different smartphone. 2018, a lot of the smartphones that are powered by Android actually look the same. There's no notch on here, it has a physical keypad, it looks and feels different in the hand, so I think that is something that the KEY2 has going in its favor. It also has lots of security features and customizable features when it comes to the operating system and how BlackBerry work at customizing the Android experience on their devices. Negatives, well, the camera isn't the best. It has a dual camera, but if you compare it with other flagship smartphones, you can get better. And also, that 3:2 screen aspect ratio is plain odd, and you'll notice how odd it is when you use social media sites like Instagram and Snap, and parts of what you are viewing are going to be cut off and look awkward and odd. If you are looking for a device that is different, that is focused around productivity and the physical keypad, then really there is only one serious contender on the market currently, and that is the BlackBerry KEY2. Is it better than the KEY1? Yes. Is it worth it? Well, that's up to you to decide based on what you need and what the KEY2 offers. Anyway, that's it from me for now in this video. If you've enjoyed it, then remember to smash that like button and share it on your social media accounts. And until next time, I'm EMKWAN. I'll see you in the next video here on EMKWAN Reviews. Peace and blessings.